What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. As always, we got my man Logan Hyder of Cinema 83 LLC in the house, doing all the things over there.
Top of the morning.
What's up, buddy? And today we have a very special guest for you from Murfreesboro, Mr. John Davis.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
The man.
Good to have you, my man. Heard a lot about you.
Okay, well, hope it's all good.
Yeah, nothing negative so far. So I newly heard about you. I think I've seen you once before at Gold's North.
Okay.
And then that was it.
Well, I don't go there very much, so that was a special day.
Yeah, this was probably a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw you once, and then I was like,
okay.
I don't know that guy.
And he's been thinking about you ever since then.
Yeah, I'm like, God, I want to see him again. I got to get him on the podcast.
I'm surprised you wanted me on here after that.
No, I know, right? But no, I've heard some positive things about you, especially from our man John Carey.
Yeah,
that
great guy.
Yeah, recorded with a week ago, and he knows everybody in Murfreesboro.
He does.
And so he highly suggested bringing you on. So I'm glad he was able to make the connection. Mm-hmm. But real briefly, just tell us what it is that you do right now.
Well, right now, the reason I'm in Tennessee and the reason I came here in 2008 is to basically open the Gold's Gym franchise, starting in Murfreesboro, and we've expanded since then to 17 locations throughout the state. We're in Chattanooga, we're in Oak Ridge, we're in Knoxville, just opened Memphis, Jackson, and all around Nashville.
Nice, man. So you guys have all the Golds in Tennessee, correct?
That's correct.
That's massive, man. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
That's something to be proud of.
And it's been a struggle. Yeah. It hasn't been easy.
It wasn't here at all before you brought it here?
It was here. You probably remember a brand called Urban Active from years and years ago. Well,
Okay.
he was a Gold's Gym before that, and the reason I got the state is because he left the brand and became Urban Active.
Oh.
And when he did that, it created a void here in Tennessee, which I originally wanted Alabama. That's where I'm from. And they said, well, we have the whole state of Tennessee that just opened up. You want it? And I said, that's perfect. We'll take it.
Nice, man.
Because I was living in Omaha, Nebraska at the time, doing a corporate job there. And I was just looking for a reason to get to the Southeast because that's where I'm from.
Yeah. The South is always going to be home for me.
Always home for me.
I've been all over the world, but I tell people all the time, like, I love the South. There's nothing like it. Mm-hmm. I don't like the humidity. I never will, but that's the only thing about
it. That's right.
Yeah.
That's what John said last week, too. He said he came from New York.
Alaska, right? New York, Alaska, worked his way down.
Yep.
And he said within 2 weeks, he was like, I'm never leaving.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, it's solid. So when you got that, we're a little brief. So now let's take it back, John.
Okay.
Take it back to the early days, like where you're from, and take us through the journey.
Well, I was raised by a single mom. I think my mom and dad got divorced when I was around 2. So basically all I knew was it was always my mom, my brother, and my sister. And she was a high school teacher in English. And basically I guess she came to the conclusion that she needed to raise us. She was going to have to get more money. Mm-hmm. So she became a pretty high-level executive in Mobile Exxon Corporation. And so we moved all the time, every couple of years. We started out in Opelika, Alabama, which is right outside of Auburn, and then we went to Clemson, South Carolina for a couple of years. Then we went to Richmond, Virginia for a couple of years. And then we came over to Columbia, Tennessee for a couple of years.
And this is all with Exxon?
Yep.
Nice.
And then we went to Lakeland, Florida, where I went through all my high school years. And then it was time to go to Auburn when I graduated from Lakeland High School. And when I went to Auburn, my mom got in real estate, and then we moved to Sarasota, Florida.
All right. I know you might know you're a pretty big dude. I don't know if you noticed this at all, but so did you?
I don't know if you looked in the mirror this morning whenever you walked out of the house.
Were you an athlete, in high school and at Auburn?
Actually, I was about a 185-pound tennis player.
No shit.
And that's the truth.
Wow.
I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody
that's
would.
crazy.
185-pound tennis player, and if I showed you old pictures, you'd say, "Who's that?" You'd actually have no idea who that was.
Damn, man, that's wild. I mean, I've had quite the transformation, but not that extreme. And I tell you what, so you had, when did you start playing tennis?
All through high school. I literally became an addiction. That's all I did.
You played at Auburn as well?
No, I did not. I wanted to, but the guys there were all South African. They didn't even speak English, so they were recruited since they were 4 years old to be there.
Damn.
So it was pretty high caliber, and so I wasn't really that good.
So you went to try out. And
So what I did was I joined a gym, and it happened to be Bill Kazmaier's gym in Auburn back in the 80s. You probably know Bill Kazmaier is the world's strongest man for 5 years in a row.
Nice.
And so I hear this little 185-pound kid was going in there to strengthen his serve, the speed of a serve, just to get stronger. And it became an addiction. And Bill Kazmaier actually took me under his wing and showed me how to power lift.
Oh,
and
nice.
So the next thing I know, I'm doing 800-pound squats and 500-pound deadlifts and 400-pound benches. And it just became an addiction. And ever since then, it's just fitness has been in my blood.
That's insane. So like obviously you had a gift when it came to the lifting side.
I had a genetic gift, yes.
Yeah.
Because I gained probably 80 pounds in the summer.
That is.
I was about to say, like, so going from tennis, all cardio, smaller, and then you just go in there and naturally pick it up like that. Like, what was that like?
All I did was run, play tennis. I was just literally is just a rail. Damn. And at 6'1", 185 pounds is pretty thin.
That's probably the smallest your frame could have gotten.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't think I could get back there right now if I wanted to, because I've just grown so much bigger.
Yeah, what's the point too? Anyways, right?
So now I hover around 300 pounds.
Oh my!
So
just hovering.
Yeah, I'm about 295 now, but I was just a few months ago. I was 320.
Oh my Lord!
So
stacked up.
I mean,
Hell yeah!
big.
So you're still in pretty good touch with your family. Y'all
well,
pretty involved.
unfortunately, my mom passed a little over a year ago, and she was kind of the rock of our family.
Bless her, man.
Sorry to hear that.
But my brother, my sister, and me are really tight. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like your mom like really held it together for you guys, man. She sounds like a badass. I mean, it's tough. I've had a few single moms on here, and it's really tough, especially these days.
Yeah.
So for her to just take that on and just charge forward and build up her business and just kick ass and take care of you guys. I mean, it sounds like she did really well.
She did. She was the rock of our family. And the last thing she said to me when she's really sick was, "How are the gyms doing?" Because she always cared so much about our success in the gyms, and it was just like she worried more about it than I did. And that's the last thing I remember her saying to me.
You know what? I tell you, my mother, she's always checking on me and my business as well, man. She's definitely a rock for our whole family. So I get that.
Yeah.
If you don't want to share, that's totally fine. But why wasn't your dad in the picture?
He died when he was, I would say about 56, I believe, and he just didn't take care of himself. He was one of those people that lived off coffee, drank at night, just never exercised, ate crappy food. I mean, he literally this is the recipe for a heart attack, and that's exactly what killed him, a heart attack.
And that happens all too often, man.
So it's kind of been my motivation just to not be like that, because I am like him in a lot of ways, personality-wise. Like I'm a very strong type A. If I get into something, I do it 110%.
Yeah.
And he was just like that, but unfortunately, he always took the negative route.
Yeah, that sucks.
Self-destructive route.
Like he went 100% into
The other way.
Yeah.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's been a completely different experience with my father because he's really healthy. He's 60, he's an Ironman competitor. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's badass.
That's cool.
Both my parents do that, and he's very type A as well. And he gets hooked. He goes hard as shit, and I've gained that from him. But I've also been able to look up to that.
Right.
So, but it's cool because you were able to see that and be like, that's not the path I want.
That's right.
And that I appreciate that as well, because a lot of people will take that in and use that as an excuse to not take care of themselves or not pursue things, right?
And I blame that on my mom too. She was just always about, our success. Always made us, get good grades in school, and she was just one of those. Didn't micromanage us at all. Let us kind of have our space. There was never any curfews or anything like that. But I don't know. That kind of brought us closer together because I respected her so much, and I saw how hard she worked and how she struggled to give us a good life. So I just always admired her, I looked up to her.
That work ethic's important as hell too,
Right.
man.
And you know what? I'd say the best thing I've had in my life is a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
Because you don't see it a lot today. That's kind of waning in today's kids. I see it every day in the gym.
You don't see it. I mean, even in the gym, even though they're there, they're not putting in that work. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
They're just hanging out.
They're too busy posing in the mirror at 180 pounds.
Good God. It's like, get out of here, guys. Come on, calm down. I mean, it's all too common.
And by the way, in their pajama bottoms.
Right.
Oh man.
So
I'm really bit. I have a big pet peeve against pajama bottoms in public.
I do
In
too.
public?
I absolutely hate it.
and
If I
for
go to
some-
Walmart and I see in the middle of the day and I see like some plaid pajama bottoms and house slippers, I'm like,
so
I can't
funny.
even go in here. I'm just going to go order from Amazon.
And
now.
for some reason, sandals now are the popular workout shoe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes absolutely no sense.
So yeah,
Did you have any siblings? You may have already said this.
yeah. I have a brother. He's 15 months younger than me, and then I have a sister that's 8 years older than me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice, man. So going through that, you talked about your whole journey through high school and everything. You always seem to have a good work ethic. Did you have any like downfalls where you just like got too crazy or anything like in college, or did you always stay just pretty driven and level headed?
I was pretty driven, but yeah, I mean, I did have my downfalls. I wasn't a great student at first. I didn't take it very seriously. I can remember I went to Florida Southern my first year, which was in Lakeland, literally less than a mile away from my high school. And I literally almost failed out of college. I pretty much had a D in every subject. And I just didn't take it seriously. I just treated it like high school, just an extended version of that. And it took me a while to kind of get serious.
Yeah. I mean, I had quite the falling out the first time I went to college. But, I did. I got addicted to pills and stuff like that. I went to the military, but I've told that story a million times, but at least you kind of re-geared while you were there.
Yeah.
And then you figured it out.
Yeah.
So
I had to actually go to a community college to reapply to get in Auburn because my first year was such a disaster.
really,
I had to go to a community college and make straight A's in order to get in Auburn. So I finally did that, and then I excelled in Auburn.
What were you going to school for?
My first degree was in business, and then I started a second degree in electrical engineering. But I'll be honest with you, I don't want to know the first thing about electrical engineering.
a lot of math.
It's a lot of math. I was good at math, but I couldn't do the thermodynamics and the nuclear physics and just all the other stuff that went with it. The electromagnetics, that just blew me up. And electronics, I can't stand. Like a lot of the classmates would come into class, and I'd hear them talking before, and like, what'd you do over the weekend? Well, I took apart this transistor radio, and it was in like millions of pieces, and I spent all weekend putting it back together. I'm like, my God, man. I was out partying, and I was like, what are these people doing?
You said, my God, man.
So I realized I had a major disconnect between me and the people that I was going to school with. So I was like, I probably shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah. I mean, at least you realized it. I think you're often told like you can be whatever you want to be.
Right.
I believe in that to an extent, but focus on your strengths. I'm not going to push my kid to do something that I like. I'm going to focus on their gifts and like help guide them towards that rather than be like, oh, just go be a doctor.
Right.
I'm sure you could after 40 years in school if you keep trying, but at the end of the day, like everybody's got their strong suits. Focus on that and excel.
Right.
And so
luckily a professor that I had while I was in business school, his name was Rajan Natarajan. He was an Indian guy, and he was a really, really smart professor at Auburn. People, there's always those professors. People say, "Don't take his class. He's going to hate you. You're going to fail out." This guy, for some reason, really liked me, and I don't know why. Because it's not like I excelled at his class, but for some reason, he kind of took me under his wing, and he actually asked me to be his research assistant, to go work for him, after school. And so I did that, and he taught me how to be a programmer because he used this software called SAS. Statistical analysis software.
yeah.
And he taught me how to be an expert at it. And it was basically taking this program and running it and hitting all these different databases and creating these virtual reports for him to do all of his analysis and research. And so I did that and became really, really good at it. And lo and behold, it was that, not college, that gave me my first job in healthcare, because I didn't realize that hospitals were, by their very nature, broken. In other words, they had all these different databases that they looked. They had your medical record system, you had your patient accounting system, you had other systems that they didn't talk to each other. And so,
sounds like the VA.
Because I knew SAS, I could bring all that stuff together virtually and create reports for executives. And they were like, "Oh my God, this is something we've never seen before."
Interesting.
So I became really good at that, and I was able to take hospital levels to whole different levels. And eventually that was like the springboard for my career.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty killer.
It's really weird.
Yeah, man. But I mean, it's crazy how those little instances, like you could have turned down that opportunity to take that lesson from him. Mm-hmm. And who knows, but it was just kind of this fated opportunity to get your foot in the door somewhere else. And it really worked out.
Well, when I was graduating business, you have this illusion that you're going to be just automatically be successful just because you have a degree. And, I was getting jobs from carpet sale companies and stuff I could have done out of high school. So I was kind of dejected that I was getting such what I considered crappy jobs.
Yeah.
And so I went back to school in electrical engineering, I guess because, actually it was the professor that taught me into it.
Yeah.
He says, you need more technical experience. That'll get you a really good job. So that's what I did. I went back to school and had a more technical degree. And lo and behold, it was him that taught me all the technical stuff I needed to know.
But you didn't finish with the electrical engineering?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I tell you what, that fan back there in the gym, I pulled the cord out, and it took me 2 hours to figure out how to rewire this one tiny little piece. So I would not be a good electrical engineer.
And by the way, if you do that wrong, you get freaking electrocuted.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure at the end of it, Jesse helped me and he figured it out. So I was like, damn it, man.
I was going to ask you just real quick, was school like something that your mom pushed? Was that something you always wanted to do?
I wasn't really a big school guy. I mean, I hear about these kids today that go to these 4-year degree colleges and they graduate in 3 years. They just zoom through it and all that. But I think they naturally like to study.
Yeah.
I was more like, I like to get out and I was in a fraternity and, I had bottle rockets coming around my room door at 3 a.m. blowing up. And, I did have the party life. So I wasn't, that's kind of contradictory to being a good student. So I wasn't necessarily a studious guy, but at the same time, I had the discipline to buckle down and achieve when I needed to.
Good deal, man. I mean, that's what it takes is discipline. So you enjoyed it along the way.
I did.
Yeah, I totally get that, man.
But school's like a big bubble. You don't realize it's not. College is, because it's such a bubble, and it's kind of a fake world. You have this illusion that you're going to be successful just because you have a piece of paper that says you graduated in this, and so it's kind of a misleading thing because college professors teach you that if you have this degree, you're just automatically going to get a great job and live happily ever after.
And that's a fact too. And now you got to take it to a whole nother level, or it's got to be specific like electrical engineering. And because those are few and far between careers nowadays. Right. And, I got my degree, but at the end of the day, I got paid to go to school from the government. So I just took advantage of something that was like, might as well, I'm going to get this for free. I'm going to get paid to do it. And at the end of the day, I earned it because I failed out first time. So it's like, I got to finish this shit.
Yeah.
But, I got a buddy that just moved to Sacramento, California, like 6 months ago, maybe more. And his wife's a doctor out there. But he had a great career in North Carolina. And he can't find shit.
Yeah.
And he's in sales. So it's like and he's got a master's and everything. It's all about connections, man.
Right.
And he's like, dude, it's tough.
Right.
So it just goes to show you that it's not promised.
Yeah.
You still got to put in that work.
Yeah.
One of the most shocking statistics ever is that 75% of people don't go into the career field that they got their degree in. It's like,
I would definitely believe
it's
that.
like, how is that even? It's just crazy. This is just a super random question. The last thing on the school thing I just want to ask. This may seem stupid, but going to a SEC giant school, you're in a fraternity. What's like the experience like that versus like the community college that you went to?
I think every Auburn person would tell you, just like I would, that once you go to Auburn, you just love it for life. It's just one of those places. It's kind of it's just a small little town. The only reason the town exists is because of the college. It's not like in a big city. It's kind of like Alabama in that way, but it's like you fall in love with it, and you have your close group of friends there, and I mean, you can never even visualize yourself living anywhere else after living there. And I was there for about 8 years, so it was a special time.
So, what year was it that you finished up there?
1994.
1994, man. Yeah. I was a whopping 4 years old.
From 86 to 94.
Nice, man. How old are you now?
57.
57? Looking good, dude. Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. 94, man.
Life starts at 50, by the way.
Does it?
Yeah. That's when you have the wisdom that you've accumulated all these years to finally put it all together. And because you've made all the mistakes, now you've learned from all your mistakes. Now you're actually living mistake free, and you're actually be able to put it all together.
Yeah. And
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, that's badass. And plus, you got a big family, which we're going to get to here shortly. And, it's a legacy thing. Like you're able to teach them all your knowledge, all the things that you've gained in that time. Right. Unfortunately, some people get past that point and they still don't know shit. because they haven't had the discipline or apply themselves in life,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, but you can always re-gear it. So you graduated in 94, you got that first gig programming types with the hospital after that. So bridging into your career post-college,
Okay.
you know, I know you said you had a couple marriages. If you want to touch on those before your family now, let's get into that, man.
So, well, first the career part. So I first started in Birmingham at it was Montclair Baptist Medical Center at the time. It's different, something different now. And I was what we called a senior data analyst. So it basically means a programmer. So I did nothing but program code all day, literally miles long of code. I'd do it for 8 hours a day, but I loved it at the time, so it was perfect. And I would do a lot of cool things, you know, with all these different databases, like I said, and create a lot of cool things for executive management. So it was rewarding in the fact that I was giving them things they'd never seen before.
Yeah.
And so, but you know, when you're in a job like that, you can start getting calls from headhunters asking if you want to go to, you know, here and make this much more money. So I finally did take an offer from a headhunter and moved to Indianapolis, Indiana to do a similar job.
Okay.
And the challenge for that was to do some of the things I was doing in Birmingham, but take it to a new place and reinvent the wheel, restaff it, and do it for another place.
Okay.
And so that became a cookie cutter for a lot of other opportunities. So then I did the same thing in Johnson City, Tennessee. Then I did the same thing in Valley Health in Winchester, Virginia. Then I went to Advocate Healthcare in Chicago.
So you're moving all over the place, man.
And then I went to Omaha, Nebraska, and worked for Allegiant Healthcare. So major hospital systems, but I got more and more responsibility with each move. And then eventually I got to be the chief financial officer at Allegiant.
Nice, dude.
So
you worked your way up.
yeah,
There's a lot of relocating there too.
yeah.
What was that like? It sounds like it's almost as if you were in the military, man, just going from base to base.
It was rewarding in the sense that I got to go to new places and do the same thing, and because eventually I would get to the point in each hospital where I would have it running smoothly.
Yeah.
And then I get to go to another broken place and fix it and get it working, and then I could go to the next place and take the broken ship and fix it and move on. So that was a challenge. That was the rewarding part of it.
Yeah, it sounds like
The trouble with that was I had kids and a wife, and I was working long hours, and I worked on weekends. I mean, I literally worked probably 12 hours, 13, 14 hours a day. Yeah. So I go to work at dark and come home at dark.
And the thing is, you're away all those hours,
Right.
you know, so you can't just, you know, I'm working those kinds of hours now, but my family's right across the street. Like I'm able to make time for them throughout the day or whatever I need to do. So I'm gifted there, but
yeah. And unfortunately, all these career stops were places where my family was way, way, way far away. Because my mom lived in Florida at the time, and my brother was in Dallas, Texas, and so my sister was in Orlando. They were nowhere close. It was just me, my wife, and my kids.
yeah. So bridging into, like, you know, the later career move, which we'll get to, you know, I'm sure thinking of like prioritizing that family time was a part of those decisions, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. You did. Because a lot of people get caught up in that world, man. They're being successful. They're raising the bar. Raising the bar. And then all these years go by and they're like, shit, man, I wasn't there for this or that, you know? And it's like a tough reality to have to face because you can't get that time back.
Right.
Well, a lot of times that's who you're doing it for. You know?
I mean, and you're doing it for them. Yeah. But, you know, I guess what I'm getting at is you can make it happen if you want to,
Right.
You know,
I was just going to ask you real quick about you helping the hospitals. You said like fixing the broken stuff, right? Are you talking about like financial efficiency and waste? Or are you talking about like the way that they operate?
I worked for a department called Decision Support. So it was basically the technical division of a finance department. So basically you're doing the budgets, you know, you print all the budget reports for all the departments so that, you know, nurses know exactly how much they can spend during a year, how much, you know, pharmacy can spend during the year. And then you're also doing projection, you know, forecasting projections and telling people where we're going to be if we keep going the way we are.
Of course.
So it was basically being able to tell people, all right, create a roadmap for how the hospital's doing financially.
So what were a lot of the big issues that they were having? Like what was like
Well,
a
hospitals
common
by their
thread?
very nature struggle. I mean, they really do struggle. It's because of Medicare, Medicaid. They're, you know, half their business is sponsored through the government in Medicaid and Medicare. So those are always underfunded programs. and hospitals struggle. Literally, they're always living mostly in the red ink, and so you're always trying to figure out where your profitable areas are. And you guys have seen gone to the doctor and gotten bills for $14,000 that should have cost $700.
My wreck was $500,000 bill.
Right.
Golly.
Yeah,
right.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
So-
You go home after they just saved your life, and they're like, by the way,
But of course, after attorneys and all the stuff, it went from, I think the overall bill went from $500,000 to like 70,000 or
Right.
something, maybe less than that. It
Right.
was
That's
just
a good
insane.
deal.
I'm like, how did they cut all that out?
that
Right.
reminds me a lot of on a very obviously a much smaller scale, but like restaurants. Like pretty much, I was serving tables at a bunch of different restaurants for like 6-7 years, and every restaurant, no matter if it's a family owned or if it's a chain, like their profit margins are so like razor thin.
They are.
You know, they'll order a different kind of lettuce if it saves them 30 cents, or they'll do like, you know, they're always kind of trying to make small little things like that. So that's kind of what it reminds me of.
Right.
Yeah.
So just by its very nature, you know, it was a very stressful environment. You're always having last minute meetings. So you have weekend plans, and your boss comes in on Friday afternoon. Oh, we have a big board meeting on Monday morning. You need to be here all weekend. And I'm sorry about the family, but you're going to need to be here all weekend.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That kind of stuff happened literally all the time, and it just kind of burns you out after a while. Because
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Relentless Pursuit. Check us out at relentlesspursuitlifestyle.com. We got a really killer pre-order going on right now, so check that out on the at the website. Check out all the training, check out the podcast on all the platforms, and also be sure, if you want more content, to subscribe to our Patreon. So our Patreon, we have exclusive episodes, a lot of Q&A, different stuff like that. It's a lot more interactive. And that would be at patreon.com/The Relentless Pursuit Podcast.
Gold's Gym, Tennessee, with 17 locations throughout the state. Check us out. We're at goldsgymtn.com, and we'd love to see you in the gym and get started today.
Along with how many other members? 80,000?
About 80,000
Just in Tennessee.
between the 17 gyms.
Holy shit, son.
That's wild, man.
Like I said, I was married for 5 years to my first wife, and we now have a 22-year-old daughter named Chandler. She just graduated from Auburn. Now she's an RN in nursing school, so I'm proud of her. She's done real well. But now she gets to figure out what life's all about. She's out of the bubble. Now she gets to find out what all of us know, and that's life's tough. And then with my second wife, who lives in Knoxville, we have a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old.
Okay.
So they're just now getting into college and starting to figure that all out. And then with my third wife, who is my soulmate, and I'm sure we'll be together forever and ever, we have 2 together, and then we have an adopted child who is going to be turning 5 in December, but we've had him since he was 2 days old.
Damn. Got an army.
Yeah.
So that's 8 total, right?
That's 8 total.
So are you, so they all been living with you, or how's that dynamic work? I mean, because that's a lot of back and forth and whatnot.
my oldest, that's been at Auburn, obviously she's always been with her mom in Alabama, and so she's never quite been here, but she visits occasionally. The other 2 in Knoxville, it used to be they were, come here every week or so, and now it's every month or so. Now it's twice a year probably. And then, of course, our 3 at home are full-time. And then I didn't say my wife had 2 children, and one is going to be 19, and one's about to turn 18.
Seriously, an army. They're all like late teens, early 20s too.
Yeah, I can remember the day when they were all 6 and 7 and 8, and it's like, we couldn't have a minivan big enough.
Yeah, right. I can
like,
only imagine.
There are times that we wanted to go somewhere, and we're like, well, we don't have a car big enough to take everybody. I'm like, well, we'll have to just.
That's crazy.
I'll follow you.
You just go to the bus stop. You just get, hey, can I borrow this weekend for family dinner?
We actually did go to Gatlinburg one time and rented this massive white van. I think it sat 12, and I think we filled it up.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's wild, man. That's pretty cool, though. I mean, so I want to get to that, like raising the kids. I don't know if you care to elaborate on your first couple marriages, or did they just fell through? Do you got good relationships with them at all? Or
It just took me. I'm kind of a late bloomer. I do everything. I'm not afraid to get into something and then figure out that it was not the right thing to do. In other words, I should have been more careful. Because I should have never gotten married in the first place when I did. And I think I did because my younger brother had gotten married a few months before I did. And I think the pressure of it all just made me say, even though I've broken up with my girlfriend for 13 times in a row, let's go ahead and get married for some reason because my brother just did. I think I had that kind of mentality when I was younger.
I think a lot of people, when it comes to marriage and relationships, they crumble under that pressure. I mean,
yeah, and I did.
I almost did a few times. There's been a few circumstances in my life. Not only those first, I told you I was engaged twice, once in the military and once up until the end of 21. And it was just like, I'm always one of those people, like, I got to see things out for myself. Like, someone will be like, hey, I went down this path. It didn't work out for me. Right. You're your own man, but I'm just letting you know. Right. And I'm like, well, I got to see it out for myself. And I get there and I'm like right on the brink. And I'm like, nah, man, this isn't the way. So I've been fortunate enough to dodge some bullets right there. And, but obviously it worked out because you got your kids and stuff like that. And it led you to who you're with now. So it's all supposed to be. But yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people jump that gun because of the pressure, because they think they're just going to run out of time. Mm-hmm. And I was going to ask you a question real quick. So I had a geographical difference between myself and my dad whenever I was growing up. It was only like an hour and a half, so it wasn't like across the country or whatever. But that's definitely a dynamic that's played out kind of in my life. So kind of from your perspective of a parent, how was that, and how has that been?
It's been tough because I think my kids would be different if they were with me full time. And it's in a couple of occasions kind of sad to see how they turned out versus, because the unfortunate thing about divorce is that kids are always affected in a negative way. There's just no way around it. Yeah. It's unfortunate. My mom and dad were meant to be together. The kids were all meant to be together. And when that breaks apart, it does affect the kids. And so when you're young, you don't really think that way. You're like, it's all about me, so I need to do what's best for me. But now that I'm older, I'm like, no, it's more about me being responsible for the kids. Yeah. So, in hindsight, was it the right thing to do? Should I have fought through it and made those work? Maybe, but I couldn't be happier than I am right now. So I'm not going to second guess that. Yeah, it's a tricky situation because you often hear people say it's all about the kids. And it's like, well, you still have your sanity and your happiness, right? Yeah. And if you can't be the best version of yourself for the kids, then you're also, even if you fight through it, if you're miserable, they're going to benefit it's going to be a negative outcome that way as well. Yeah. So I think like looking back, it's just like, well, I did what I had to do, but I guess you can always see like maybe there was a more proactive way to influence my kids or whatever. I can see that.
You bring that up sometimes. The other thing I always like to throw on the back of that too is that also like the idea behind that is almost like as if the kids don't notice. Like the kids know whenever you're just doing it for them. Yeah. Like even if they can't put words to it, they feel it, they see it, and that can give you like really crazy thoughts on how marriage or relationships are supposed to work because that's what you saw, but really they were just staying together for you, et cetera, et cetera. So
Right.
Yeah, and I'd imagine
a challenging situation.
Maybe you and your wife now are probably like you said, we're going to be together forever. Like you obviously love her to death.
Yeah, she's definitely she could not. I mean, I'm a lucky guy, and there's no doubt. I tell her that all the time. Purely just as lucky as you can get. We met when I moved here to Murfreesboro to open the gyms, and she actually came in and applied for a sales consultant with us in my pre-sale center.
Did it hit you then?
So. Yeah, it kind of did, and I hired her as a sales consultant, one of our fitness consultants. Basically, the goal is to sell memberships, but I was like, you're not very good at that, but you'd make a great wife. But that was coming on the tail of my second wife, which that ended mainly just because it got to be an abusive relationship. I mean, she had a lot of emotional problems, depression, alcoholism, a lot of things going on there that just weren't good. And I tried my best to fight through it, and just it wasn't going to get to a better place. So. Yeah.
So you make that decision, Yeah. And so, and how long after you met your wife did you pursue that?
It was pretty immediate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty immediate.
Yeah. I know how that goes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John. Will you pull your mic towards me?
Okay. And actually, I'm not real proud of this, but I think it's an interesting comment. I actually got divorced on the same day I got remarried.
Got divorced on the same day you got remarried?
So
That's crazy.
I got divorced. at 8 a.m. here in Murfreesboro. And because there's a 30 to 60 day waiting period to get remarried here in the state, we flew to Vegas that day and got married that night in Vegas.
Damn.
At the same place
Big
that
move.
Demi Moore and Michael Jordan and all the other places have gotten married.
Just like that.
Yes, we did. So I'm not real proud of that, but that's kind of shows you we were ready.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, you just knew it, man.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no doubts about that, and that's really cool. That after all that shit, you found that, man.
And we didn't even tell the family. We just flew out there and did it. So we didn't even.
You get back, you're like, hey, by the way, everybody.
Yeah. So because I knew if I told everybody, the resistance would be just crazy. So I just didn't want to deal with it.
Of course, yeah. You don't want to hear everybody else's opinions. A lot of people have opinions on your situation.
Yep.
You know, trust me, I heard it over and over again, but I was like, no, I got to do the right thing.
Right.
So
I tell my wife all the time. I just felt like we were supposed to meet. I just think there's something. I think there is some destiny in this world.
Oh, facts.
And I think we were always meant to meet.
Yep.
So all the things I went through with the first two wives and all the stops and all the things I went through and the kids, we were supposed to meet. So I just firmly believe that.
That's amazing, man. I mean, I truly do believe in fate, and I talk about this all the time. And, it's like every little bit, like those relationships and all the things I learned from them, like that 4-year relationship where I was engaged and I'm like, I was miserable and I tried to stay in. It's like, why did I do that for so long?
Right.
It doesn't matter because all that did was mold me for who I'm with now. And man, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me, but I wouldn't be the same person had I not experienced all that. And same goes for her and her, her situations as well. So it all plays out how it should, man. Fate just works. It's not good or bad, man. It's not going to be easy. It's just going to play out how it should. And you just got to roll with it.
Right.
Instead of trying to fight it, say you had stayed with your ex and tried to fight it, you may still be in this repetitive cycle.
Right.
So
I can remember the thing that my second wife told me. We're still living in Omaha at the time. This is before I came here, but I had already committed to doing the Gold's Gym franchise. Was really just working just constantly in Omaha, still employed by the hospitals, doing that job too. And she told me, and this really just sat with me, it almost just knocked me down. You just get that silly dream out of your head. That you're never going to be an owner of a fitness club. Just get that crap out of your head. And it's just like, when she said that, it was almost like, well, it's going to happen now because you just told me I'm not going to be able to make it happen.
Isn't that crazy?
still
She
feel
told
that-
me it was a silly dream.
You can still feel that energy from you right now. You're
Dude.
like,
Yeah.
that's the worst, dude. That's the worst.
When someone tells me I can't do something or it's a silly dream and I'm passionate about it, it's going to happen. 100%.
and somebody is supposed to be supporting you in
Yeah.
that.
Right. So that kind of just, that was like the last hurrah for me.
What's crazy is I had a very similar thing said to me from my first fiance. We were laying there one night and she wanted me, after I proposed, she wanted me to stay in the military. She was all about moving to Tennessee and me starting my own path. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, that's definitely not what I want to do, And I was like, I want to pursue I want to do my thing. I want to get out there. Like, this is a chapter. And she was like, you're just like a little boy with all your dreams and aspirations. And it was just like, she just stabbed me in the freaking gut, man.
Right.
I was like, I'm supposed to marry this person?
Right.
And like, that was that was like a hard, like, that's when I knew. I was like, this isn't it.
Right.
Joe, get the
When
fuck out of it.
when someone's not standing there by you, supporting your dreams,
Yep.
that's a killer for me.
Fast forward to now, last year when I was looking at this space, I told Lydia, I was like, it's going to take everything I have, all my money, all my all my effort. It's going to take everything. She's like, you're doing it. I believe in you.
Yeah.
And I went and I hit up the girl. I was like, hey, let's sign this paperwork, and like that shift, but that does so much for a man or a woman. You know what I'm saying? That does so much for your spouse or who you're in a relationship with. And that can take them to the whole nother level because you, just by believing in them, like you're going to benefit so much from that as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And,
Right.
like never hold anybody back because you're both going to end up miserable.
Right. So I moved here in 2009, right before the tornado hit. If you remember when that was, it was that Good Friday. Every contractor in town everybody in town was every contractor because I was trying to hire contractors to help me do the pre-sale space. And everybody was too busy fixing up the damage from the tornado that hit in North Murfreesboro, which, by the way, my wife's mother house was leveled during that. It was completely taken off its foundation.
Dang.
So,
I just want to jump in real quick, just a quick to tie between the healthcare and doing the Gold's Gym. I know you explained earlier how you came about with the Gold's Gym, but how did you jump from the hospital to even thinking about doing that or it becoming a thing?
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you in April of 2008, my brother and I went on spring break and we went down to Auburn where we went to school, and they just opened a brand new Gold's Gym there. And we went to work out there one day, just casually, it's just what we did when we went down there. And this place was just immaculate. It was, just everything from the colors to the brand new equipment and just the smell of the place, and having a fitness background and having lived in a gym in my younger days, I was like, I wasn't really actively working out at the time, but I was like, man, this place is incredible. And I just kind of looked at him and said, wouldn't it be great to own one of these things? Because he was living in Dallas, Texas. And he was a chemical engineer. And he was kind of the same place I was, like far from home, was kind of burned out on his job, been doing it for a long time. And I was, of course, in Omaha, Nebraska. And I'd kind of been doing my thing and long way from home and just didn't really feel as energized about it anymore. Like I said, the always proactively in fire drill mode, like I said, and that was just a tough thing to deal with. So we just kind of came to this conclusion, like, man, we ought to explore this. And so when I got back to Omaha from that spring break, I just sent him a text saying, hey, you want to open a Gold's Gym? And I'll say, I'll just get started on it if you want to. His response was yes. It was a text. And so I did. I just randomly sent in an inquiry to Gold's Gym and said, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity to be a franchisee in the Southeast, preferably, since it's where I'm from. Birmingham would be great. Any place in Alabama, let me know if you have anything. And then I got a response saying, hey, we've got the whole state of Tennessee just opened up. Would you be interested?
Damn.
And so I'm like, absolutely. And so I jumped on it. And at that time, it was just simply, wow, can I make this happen? It was kind of a scary thought. Like, can I go from being a chief financial officer in a hospital to a gym owner?
Yeah.
Kind of a scary leap.
Yeah.
Because I had no experience in anything like owning gyms and didn't know much about it. I just knew that it sounded fun.
Yeah.
And so my brother and I were the original people on the application, and we actually got approved, which was amazing to us because opening a gym is like $2 million per gym. You have to have a cash investment of $2 million.
Good God.
Of course, we didn't have anything near that. So I don't know what I did.
He's like, I got $20 for you.
I don't know what I put on paper to make them approve us, but it was like, I don't know how we did this, but they approved us, and now we just got to figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah. Did y'all have to and you had to find the money or?
Well, I had some savings, and I cashed out all my retirement that I had saved up, and he did a few things like that, and we pulled together like a couple hundred, $200,000 or $300,000 just to get started.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
But so when I had the opportunity to just get going, I went to the first Gold's Gym convention in Vegas, and was because they're like, well, just let us know when you find your first site. I don't know where. How do I find my first site? I don't know what makes a good gym. I don't know what building do I look for. Where do I go?
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee's a big place. I want to know where my first gym should be. So I went to this convention hoping to find some answers, and I was introduced to a guy named Robert Dennis, who is our third partner today. And he, at the time, was working for a real estate development company, and his specialty was finding gyms for potential clients anywhere in the country.
Okay.
So that's what he did. He'd go, take a new franchisee, and he would help them find the perfect location, whatever state that may be in.
That's cool.
So I hired him to do that, and he came to Tennessee, and he drove the whole state. And I think he spent about a week here, went everywhere, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Memphis, all around Nashville, everywhere in between. And he called me one day and he said, hey, I think I've got your location. I'm like, where is it? Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I'd never heard of it. I really had no idea where that was. That's this little place southeast of Nashville. I think you'll like it. The energy here is incredible. The traffic's amazing. We have some really good opportunities here, some buildings that are empty, that are on a really busy road. So I'm like, okay. Well, I flew in to explore it. And then it was, we looked at the place where the jump place is behind Panera Bread right now. That was the first location that we looked at. I was like, I don't know, it's kind of invisible back here. It's kind of off the main street. And then we looked at the other location, which was at the time, it was a Sofa Express store where the old Fort Parkway location is now. I'm like, this is perfect. Perfect size, 20,000 square feet, right on the main drag. They're offering a good deal on it, so we should do this one. And so we agreed, and that became our first gym.
Damn, man.
And
so Gold's Old Fort was is what started Tennessee up.
But the story now just begins.
And then you go into the tornado.
So I've committed to doing the gym. I'm still living in Omaha. I'm still working for the healthcare system. So I'm on lunch break one day, and of course you have to remember now. A few months have passed by, and I'm ducking behind corners. I'm going into conference rooms because I'm trying to get this business started while trying to do a full-time job. And so I think my boss and several people within my teams realized that I was not as engaged as I was, because I was definitely spending a lot of time trying to do this business. And so I was at lunch one day, and my boss called me and said, "Hey, can you come back to work real quick? I need to come to HR." I'm like, uh-oh. And I get back to work, and you have to have a badge to scan to get into the building, and it didn't work. Oh. I'm like, uh-oh. Then I go to my computer, and I try to log on, and it doesn't work. Then I'm like, oh, crap. And then so I go to this HR place where they wanted to meet, and I've got 2 HR reps and my boss there. And they dismissed me right there on the scene.
On what grounds?
Yeah, I was going to say, did they have evidence
just
or
because
something?
they use it as a restructuring.
Of course.
It's because they could tell, and I knew they could, that I was not all there, because I was trying so much. It took so much time to try to get the business going.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready to end it yet. I was going to, but it's like you just kind of got busted. And there you go.
So they had no idea that you were in the process of doing this.
They didn't know why. No.
They just knew something was going on.
Yeah.
Whenever you were talking about how they told you that the state of Tennessee was opened up, I was just curious, did they require you to commit to multiple locations in Tennessee, or were they just saying you can do whatever you want in Tennessee?
They said I could go anywhere and open my first location, but they did stress strongly that they wanted me to develop the state.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. Which is even more commitment and even more like energy.
You had
and
to start
effort.
there, yeah.
So here I am. I'm in the process of, I've signed the franchise agreement. I've met Robert. He's come in the state. He's found Murfreesboro, but we don't have any funding source to start a gym yet. So I was obviously still employed, no longer employed now. So I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, jobless. Just signed a franchise agreement, have all these commitments, have a building I've got to pay for, but no way to pay for it. And so and no experience in the industry. So if you remember back in 2009, you remember what the banks did? They froze up. We pretty much had a financial collapse in the country.
Yeah, that's
you couldn't get a basic loan to save your life. That's when all the mortgages crisis went.
It went from everybody can get whatever they want to nobody can get anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So everything was frozen up. You couldn't do anything. And so here we were trying to get a $2 million SBA loan with no experience in the industry. And luckily I found a guy in Nashville that I came down to visit, and he actually was willing to help us. And he actually had gotten a loan through for, I think, $1.5 million to start the first location. And that was done, so we were all in celebratory mood. But a few weeks later, I'm in Omaha again, about ready to move down here to start the pre-sale. And he calls me up and says, "By the way, I've been fired, and your loan has been canceled."
Like, damn it! This gave your hopes up a little bit.
So he goes, "I'll take your file, and if I get him reemployed somewhere, that'll be the first thing I do is reintroduce it to the committee there to see if they'll take it on." But of course, that was like, that's never going to happen. Because
might as well be a death
first of all,
nail,
what's the chance of this guy getting reemployed? I mean, we're in a financial crisis mode in the entire country. Well, believe it or not, and this is again why I know this business is supposed to happen. 3 weeks later, he calls me back up and says, I've just gotten back on with a new bank. I've got your loan, and I'm going for approval today. And he calls me back a day later and says they approved it.
So it did work out.
The roller coaster, dude. Jesus.
So it literally went from, I mean, those few days I didn't sleep a wink because I was like, this is unbelievable because we're not going to be able to do anything unless we have this loan.
How long was it from like when you had that dismissal to all of this happen? Like, was this all within the same couple weeks or something?
This is like a month, 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah.
Jeez.
So
a lot of things going on in this really short time frame.
So the myself and the other two partners, I can remember the day we're on the phone. And I can remember the day that I told them that our loan had been canceled and this guy had been fired. And I remember that call. And I remember the call saying that we had been reapproved with a new bank. And it's like, this business is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Because we were meant to do this.
Good shit.
This is the right thing.
God.
So this is a higher calling than we even realized. Because we had every obstacle against us.
But it kept working out.
It kept working out.
Yeah. And those things come across to throw you off and be like, nope, I'm throwing the hat in.
Yeah. We literally had everything thrown at us that you can possibly imagine to not be able to do this. So the fact that we have as many gyms as we do today, and we pretty much dominate the state. It's in just 14 years of business. It's pretty amazing.
It was meant to be. I mean, that is pretty damn amazing. And I want to know, you were getting to the tornado because I know when y'all were moving in, right?
Yeah.
That was a thing that happened.
Yeah, I jumped back in on the hospital going to the fitness, but you were talking about when you moved to 2009, the tornado.
Yeah.
And you were trying to hire
So we did this pre-sale center, and back then it's not as popular today, but back then you would set up a pre-sale center near your location that you're building, and it was adjacent to the building we are in now. And the goal is to pre-sell as many memberships as you can, so that day one you've got 2,000 or 3,000 members and you're ready to go, and you can reach profitability sooner. Well, our pre-sale was a disaster. I mean, it was like we couldn't get anybody in there to even, because one, you had Olympus in town, you had the MAC, you had, and I didn't even know this, you had a previous Gold's Gym downtown Murfreesboro that was never disclosed to us. And I don't know if you guys remember the history of that.
No, I have no idea.
It actually was owned by a guy, and he had a some type of outside Murfreesboro in some shed. He was making illegal drugs. And he was using that money to fund his gym, and the feds busted him, and so he basically bolted town, and left the business left his wife in charge of the business, which eventually failed because she didn't know how to run a business.
Yeah,
and so that
Gold's Gym just forgot to mention that.
Everybody knew about it here. Everybody had gotten a really bad rap because if you're in the drug business in Murfreesboro, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
everyone's going to be talking about you in a negative way.
Oh yeah.
And so when I first got to town, everybody thought I was that guy, but coming back from hiding, and I was reopening.
They're like, there he is.
I was like, I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
There he is.
So
he's back. Get him.
They literally thought I was that guy.
Damn. You're like, no, let's correct this.
I was like, first
now.
of all, I didn't know there was a Gold's Gym here before. It was never disclosed, and I certainly didn't know this story. But now that explains why we're having such a negative reaction here.
How long did it take you to put that together?
So it took a long time, and I think we opened the gym actually when the construction was done. We opened in October of 2009, and I think we opened with like 300 members. We were supposed to have 2,500 to 3,000.
Yeah, a lot of bills.
So in other words, rent starting, payroll starting, and you've got 300 members, and you're trying to make it. And you're just seeing massive red ink on the financial statement.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy to me, man, and I'll probably say this again, as we move along. It's just like obstacle after obstacle after obstacle and after obstacle. Right. And it's so crazy to me because, like, man, just in this small business of my own, I've seen that.
Yeah.
And then it's just like fail, disappointment, fail. Right. Hell yeah. Okay, This is where I'm supposed to be. Fail. Same thing, It's just that those wins are much less common, especially when you first get going. Right. But you also, like, those fails are so good for you too. Right. And then you have those reminders. It's like, man, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be fucking doing. Right. But it's like,
it's good to see that it worked out.
Yeah, because it's really inspirational to me because you're so far ahead of where I'm at with my business, right? And like hearing your story is like massive because I'm like, dude, this is like really cool to hear, and just gain your
I
perspective.
I would tell anybody that did what I did just to keep on keeping on. Do not ever give up, because even though your mind will convince you it's not going to happen, that if it's meant to happen, it will happen.
Yeah.
Because we had every reason to fail. Every reason. And I always read the stats, 95% of all new businesses fail in the first year. I knew all that. And I was like, oh gosh, we're going to be another one of them.
Yeah.
Because we had every reason to fail, but we always figured out a solution to every problem until we got over the hump.
You only had 300, and you only had like 300 people sign up.
Yeah, so bridge that gap for us. So
Right.
all those struggles and only having that thing to the 17 locations. Like, what is that?
And the thing is, the pre-sale center, we actually hired a professional company who had done thousands of pre-sales around the country.
Okay.
And they were like known as the experts in these pre-sales. They would brag that, oh, you guys are going to have 5,000 members when you open up. We'll make sure that it's our guarantee. They charge this huge amount of money each month. We thought, okay, if we have that many members, we can afford it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they left Murfreesboro, just like spit them out. They had no idea why it was so just non-responsive to us. But like I said, what I just said about the previous Gold's Gym experience with the downtown location and the owner, I think that really took everybody by surprise. I didn't know about it. They didn't know about it. Nobody knew about it. I don't even think Gold's Gym Corporate knew about it.
So that just a wrench in everything.
Yeah.
Well, and how could you possibly prepare for something like that?
Right.
Like, why are the pre-sales not going well? Oh, yeah, there's this crazy guy who people think that I am. Like, that's...
Right. So as far as like the build out of the first gym, that went really smoothly. Like I said, we got the SBA loan, so it was fully funded. That went, we built a really pretty, beautiful facility, and it was great when we opened. Now, granted, we didn't have that much equipment. And I look back at old pictures, I'm thinking, wow, that was kind of like I think Olympus nicknamed us the Curves for Men. Because we didn't have that serious look, it was a carpeted room, looked like a dentist office with some shiny equipment in it, but it didn't look like it was like any hardcore stuff or anything like that. So it did kind of look like a Curves for Men. And now that I look at old pictures, but obviously we've evolved and we're pretty hardcore now.
You had to start somewhere.
Yeah. So anyway, when we got into the facility and we started operations, having so few members, we kind of needed more help because we didn't feel like we had the expertise to add that many members that fast. So we actually did contract with another company. We outsourced our entire sales program to a group out of Alabama, and what they did was they hired their own GM to come in and manage the club, and he reported directly to this company, and so they were pretty hardcore when it came to sales. They were like guerrilla warfare type guys. They were hardcore salespeople, and they actually did some good stuff. They added literally a couple of thousand members in a short period of time. So it propelled us from where we were to more than break even. And so they did some good stuff, and we learned a lot from them. So what we did was when that partnership ended, we took everything we learned from them and instilled it in our own staff. And that really.
So does that mean like throwing on a black ski mask and like kicking in someone's door with a contract and a Gold's member card and be like, sign up now?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
They were hardcore. They really were all about, no one walks out of here unless they sign up. And they had all these tactics and just really used car salesman like stuff.
Nice.
Kind of cheesy, but it worked.
They made it work. That's good.
So they believed in flyering their entire town, even the ones that were guarded by security guards. Like we'd cover up the mall, and every windshield wiper had a flyer on it. Even dead possums on the street, I used to joke had a flyer on them. You ever seen that? You ever seen that road where they're striping the road and they run right over the dead animal in the thing?
That was your flyer.
We actually took that picture. We put a Gold's Gym flyer on it, and they used that in one of our ads.
Nice.
So
I love that.
So yeah, that was our philosophy, just to literally put just guerrilla marketing warfare, make Gold's Gym in the minds of everyone in town. And we also offered a very low price at the time. It was $10 a month to join up, and so people did.
Yeah, they did. I mean, because y'all had something different, and that was literally in their faces constantly.
I mean, at one point, the Old Fort location got up to 10,000 members by itself.
Golly.
Good God.
Yeah, It's not there anymore because North kind of peeled some off. Smyrna kind of peeled some off.
Spread things out a little bit.
Yeah, and that's good because it was actually to the point where
Too much.
it was way too much.
And there's like a line waiting to get in there,
It
like
was,
a Taylor Swift concert.
It was shoulder to shoulder, and you can't work out in things like that.
No, it's a little too chaotic for sure. And and Murfreesboro's grown a lot, and fitness is pretty massive here in this area. I mean, it's crazy how
there's a lot of people here.
Oh yeah, this is a hot spot, Middle Tennessee for sure.
Yeah, your man who made that call, that was a great call. Your man who said to come here. Yeah,
it was. He said there was something about Murfreesboro he couldn't really describe it, but it's definitely the place to be.
Yeah,
a lot of other people are just now figuring that out.
Was there any like beef with any other gyms? You had headbutt with anybody?
We had our run-ins with the MAC and Olympus a few times.
Yeah,
our friend Mr. Barber over there at Olympus. We had a few run-ins, but
it's part of it, man. You're competing, know, at the end of the day, and there's going to be some conflict there just naturally as you grow, you know, and as other people grow. I mean, it's just part of business.
Right.
So how do you go from the 1 to the 17?
Well, if it were just my brother and I, we probably would have 3 gyms right now and probably live comfortably because that's probably as much as we could have done. But because I was able to get Robert Dennis, our third partner, involved in the business, that's his specialty. His specialty is dealing with landlords, contract negotiations. He's an attorney by trade. So he's very, very well versed in expanding and development.
Okay.
And so that's been his forte. He's basically made us grow much further than we had originally anticipated just because of his expertise.
Okay.
So it was like, again, I get back to this. We were always meant to be because I found the right people to be a part of our ownership group. And it just kind of fell in my lap. It's not like I was looking for someone like that to develop our business. He just he was introduced to me, and it was his choice to be part of our company. I didn't try to talk him into it.
Yeah.
So it's just, all the pieces fell into the puzzle.
As they should have, right?
Yeah.
But even at the most crucial times when it was like, shit, how are we going to do this?
Right.
And I think about that too. I mean, searching for trainers and stuff, I'm like, all right. I was really stressing it at first.
Yeah.
But just a lot of inconsistency.
Right.
And I was like, okay.
But we've tried it. We've tried so many things over the years. Yeah. We've tried the low price model, higher price models. We've tried different amenities. We've tried offering different things in our clubs, kids clubs, boot camps. We've added hot yoga since we opened. We've added all kinds of things, bar classes. But I will say that during my 14 years with Gold's Gym so far, I think there's been 5 or 6 different executive team changes in the company.
I was just about to ask how much
they have been in turmoil since I signed my first agreement. And I think because of that, everyone knows Gold's Gym for the original Venice, the Mecca of bodybuilding, right? That's the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Lou Ferrigno.
What's the guy's name that opened that one?
Joe Gold.
Joe Gold.
He was the original founder and opened the original gym, Gold's Gym.
Okay.
Which is basically a little tiny cement box.
Wasn't there another guy that bought that one? Oh, shoot. I think he was like an architect or something like that. I met him at an event. He used to work with all these guys.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'll pull it up. This will be after the show, but I was just curious.
But there's always been this Gold's Gym's always kind of fought against their own logo, for example. They show the muscular guy, but then they were telling us, we cater to the soccer mom. We don't want bodybuilders in our clubs, but yet your logo is a bodybuilder. And so I kept saying, well, do we have the right logo here? Because I know you guys love this logo, and you basically put it on the same level as McDonald's and all the other logos that are out there. But at the same time, you constantly fight against the logo.
Yeah, it's iconic.
Like you're showing people a bodybuilder, and even though over the years you've softened that look, you're still telling us that we want to have soft clubs with kids club colors and very soft, non-intimidating environments, and we want to target the women and the soccer moms that drive minivans, and we don't want hardcore bodybuilders in our clubs, and we want to dissuade. There's no grunting, there's no any of that. So that was Gold's Gym for the first 10 years I was there, and since then, it's been bought by a German company.
Okay.
And the guy that bought Gold's Gym, I think 2 years ago, was basically just like myself. He was a bodybuilder, opened his own gym, did everything from sales to cleaning the toilets to cleaning the carpets, doing everything there is in the gym. And he kind of came up the hard way and built a gym because he was so in love with Gold's Gym. You know, that was the original influence on him. And so when he got the opportunity to buy the brand, it was actually owned by Omni Hotels, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Gold's Gym was. So if you think about it, Omni Hotels, have you ever been in an Omni Hotel?
I think
awesome.
there's one here.
They cater to the higher demographic. They're super nice. That's why Gold's Gym was being influenced to a softer crowd.
Yeah.
Because of the ownership.
Of course.
And so now that they're owned by a more hardcore bodybuilding crowd, they're actually going back the other way. Now they're telling us we want the logo everywhere. We want to cater to bodybuilders. We want hardcore equipment. They have a certain look and feel. They want that dungeon feel to all the gyms.
Yeah, but there's so many gyms out there that already are doing what it used to, like
the Me Too gyms.
Yeah, that Omni, like kind of
the Me Too gyms.
Yeah, there's so many out there. Why do you want to be like everybody else? Yeah, screw that.
So I think the biggest mistake Gold's Gym has made in the last 20, 30 years is that they've been trying to do what everybody else is doing instead of just being yourself.
Being Gold's Gym.
Being what made you successful in the first place.
Yeah.
Capitalize on your history. I mean, who has the history that Gold's Gym does? Nobody does. Because it was the original gym. It was founded by Joe Gold, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was basically a Gold's Gym guy.
Yeah.
That's what made him successful.
Yeah. Stick to the roots, and people are going to appreciate that, especially as things progress and everything becomes more similar to each other.
Right.
You want it. Sticking to the roots is going to make it stand out.
Right. And they did this analysis, and I think of all the logos in the entire world, they found that the Gold's Gym logo was in the top 5 most recognizable logos in the entire world.
You got to use that. You got to use that.
And it's crazy to realize that RP is going to be doing the same, is going to be there one day too.
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
I'm going to make sure of it.
So
anyways.
it's actually going in a direction now that I'm really excited about.
No, that's exciting.
We're actually, we just opened Memphis, and it actually has a whole different look and feel than any of our other clubs do because it's part of this new regime. A whole new look and feel. So when you walk in there, you feel like you're motivated by strength and true strength equipment, and you just get that energy that you feel like when you go out to Venice, California, and walk into that club.
Yeah.
Instead of you walk into like some of our other gyms, and you feel like you're in a dentist office with equipment in it.
Yeah.
So our other gyms are just kind of have that sterile look, but it was by design because they didn't want to be intimidating. They felt like the sterile look was less intimidating to people that don't necessarily want to go to gyms.
Of course.
So instead of trying to appease to everybody now, we're trying to find our target, which is the strength athlete, and target that crowd, and that's who we're going to appeal to.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, stick to what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Don't try to fit in, man, and you're going to make it so much better.
Right.
You know, and I appreciate that you're doing that, man. You're headstrong about keeping it that way, and obviously that it's under new ownership. I'll never forget. I had a guy who was checking out my brand one time, and he was like, and I did some color last summer because I'm a big synthwave, like metal's my thing, but I'm a big synthwave fan. So I did like this release that kind of fit that. But what I realized is a lot of people like my darker stuff, like the look that RP already puts off anyways, you know, so that sale wasn't something I'd necessarily go back to, but it was fun for me. But like a year prior to that, this guy was like, oh, you know, maybe you should add some more color because COVID made people like, you know, they've been inside and like, you know, shave your beard so you'll appeal to a younger crowd. And I was like, sir, with all due respect, I'm not going to do any of that shit. I said, because I like what I like. And I said, I'm not shaving my beard to fit in with anybody. I'm just going to do my damn thing and it's going to work. And that's just how it's always going to be, man, because why bend to fit the mold? Because when I do that, that's when I start losing the passion for what I do.
Right.
And like, this is built off of passion and the love of it. So yeah, I'm all about that, man. Right. Take it back.
Telling you to add some colors to your clothing is quite a jump from asking you to shave your beard.
Yeah, I'm like camo or shave my beard. I'm like,
What the
shave
hell?
my beard.
I just
Well,
want
you
to.
know, when I first got with Gold's Gym, and you have to go to Dallas, where they used to be located. Well, they're still located there. That's their headquarters. They used to offer something called Gold's Gym University to all new franchisees, and you had to go through this week-long course. And the first thing they said to me, because I was lifting in Omaha, and I was probably 270, 275, they said, you need to be smaller because you're going to intimidate your members.
Damn.
They said, you need to lose some of that muscle.
Get out of
You
here.
can't be an owner and look like that because that's not who we're going after.
What'd you do?
I'm like, hold on, aren't we Gold's Gym? I mean, I thought the bodybuilder was our main focus.
Yeah.
No, we're the soccer mom's our target.
How much freedom do they give you, like as a corporation?
I think they almost give you too much freedom because I think to some degree they don't require that every Gold's Gym look exactly the same. In other words, you walk into a McDonald's here in Murfreesboro, you'll the same exact look to a McDonald's in Canada. It's not like that, but they do have standards and guidelines. Because sometimes, like 5 years ago, I would go into a Gold's Gym in Florida, and it'd just be a bomb shelter. It just looked terrible. Like there's been no accountability to keep it up to a certain standard, and that makes me look bad because our members, when they're a member of Gold's Gym, you have access to all Gold's Gyms in the entire country.
Yeah.
And so I don't want my members leaving us and going to a place in Florida on vacation. They come back and they say, that was terrible down there. Thank God, we have a great gym here.
Yeah, because unfortunately you don't own those ones, but that's a representation of you.
That's
still.
right. That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? Yeah.
So they standardize just enough to make sure they're all up to a certain level, but they let you kind of design your own and make little nuance, little changes as needed.
Well, so I'm curious, what's the most important thing you've learned throughout that journey of like building Gold's Gym to what you have now? Like, what's been this whole pathway? What has been the most valuable thing you think you've learned?
Well, I mean, I've known several people in the last few years that developed their own business, and my first advice to them was expect the unexpected. In other words, just because you have a plan on paper and you think it's going to go this way, I guarantee you that's not going to happen. There's going to be so many roadblocks, barriers, things you didn't expect, things flying at you all at once, that you need to have a contingency plan to deal with things as they occur, because you don't know when you're going to get audited. For example, we out of the blue a few years ago, we got audited by the state. It took like a month of my time just to sit with auditors for 5 hours a day to going through our books.
Damn.
Luckily, it went okay because I was very detailed about my accounting, but you don't know when things are going to happen like that.
Yeah.
So
especially the more revenue you create and whatnot as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So just expect the unexpected, and then basically just realize it's a lot of hard work. But at the same time, the hard work does turn into a giant reward.
Yeah.
Like right now, I mean, I work about an hour a month and pretty much have the freedom to do what I want to do because I have great managers running all of our clubs. But the first 10 years, I worked around the clock.
Around the clock, man.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that free time now that you got it?
I work out.
Hell yeah. You don't say.
I take ice baths, I work out, and I eat.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I do.
I mean, that's a pretty good plan.
What's
Yeah.
your takeaway hitting that spot now? Like from that perspective, either when I started this, I never would have thought, or like maybe it's just that eventually it will pay off. But so he's kind of saying what did you learn through the struggle? And now that you've kind of, not that your adventure's obviously over, but kind of getting through that 10-year point, and now that you're here, is the main takeaway that it's worth it, or what are your thoughts on kind of being here now?
Well, I guess the question is, if I knew what I know today back then, would I have even done it in the first place? And I think, yes, I would have, but I had no idea that it would be as hard as it was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would have never guessed we could have done what we did in 14 years. And, we still have obligations to do 6 to 10 more gyms. We've already signed area agreements with Gold's that we have locations that we have commitments to do in the next 5 to 10 years, another 10 gyms perhaps.
Good God.
So we could have as many as 27 gyms at some point.
That's freaking gnarly, man.
Yeah, but
Hell yeah.
I think the end for us is eventually to fully develop the state of Tennessee, even more so than it is today, and then at some point maybe pass it down to our kids or sell it to a group that wants to have Gold's Gym Tennessee.
Yeah.
So
And that opportunity will come, I'm sure. Either one of those, right? So either way, you're on the right track. And I'm curious, a couple more things. What's been the hardest lesson in this? Or would that fall in line with what you just said?
hardest lesson. Just don't take it too seriously. Just just work hard and don't worry about all the details, because, if you work hard, that will eventually things will work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of sleepless nights worrying about every little detail, but if you just work hard every single day and have faith, you can get through it.
I love that.
Need to hear that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So good stuff. And I'm curious about your wife. Like, what is the part she's played in all this? Raising the kids, or like
at first she was going to Sam's and buying waters and stocking our refrigerators.
Yeah.
She was doing payroll for all the gyms. She was the payroll person. And of course I was the CFO. My brother was the COO, and Robert was the chief development officer. So we all played key roles in the company. And so the owners and their wife, Robert's wife, Holly, was the director of the kids clubs for all the gyms.
okay.
My brother's wife, Liz Davis, was the director of all the kids clubs. So she made sure all that. So we all played key roles in the company the first 10 years until we just basically outgrew ourselves to the point where we had to just backfill all that with managers, because it would just be overwhelming now for us.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
And you have to know at some point there's a time to step away. I mean, it'd be like, whoever started McDonald's trying to manage all those McDonald's stores by himself around the country. That would be impossible.
Yeah.
So at some point you just got to know when to step away. It's actually better for people to more focus on it, because you can't spread yourself too thin. Once you do that, you need to be confident enough in yourself to know when it's time to step away.
Yeah. Experiencing that now, just like really being spread thin.
But it's hard. It's hard to give up.
And for a while you have to, because it costs money to bring other people in and stuff like that, so for a while
you have to be able to afford it.
Yeah, you have to be able to afford it, but eventually you got to be able to step back.
That's right.
There's other aspects of your life, not to mention, like, the longer you're spread thin, the more stress you have throughout that time, right? And that's just bad for your fucking health, Like, I'm already noticing that. So,
and I didn't work out for 8 years during this period, from the time I started the business to a few years ago. I didn't work out at all during that time.
Oh shit!
Because I literally had to give every ounce of energy I had to the business. I didn't have anything left.
If my gym wasn't 30 feet away, I probably wouldn't make it to the gym.
We would go to the gym at 5 o'clock prime time, and my wife and I, and she'd say, "Are you going to work out?" And I'd just sit there and say, "No, I don't have the energy."
Yeah.
Because I was just so ingrained in everything, every detail of the operation, that I didn't have anything left.
So you put that work in, though, and now you just get to focus on you.
So now I get to, I did what I needed to do to get it up and going, and now I'm reinvesting in myself.
Nice, dude.
So just letting my hobby kind of drive me now.
Good deal, man. Well, is there anything else you feel necessary to touch on about the journey and about your experience of life?
I don't think so.
I think we covered quite a bit.
We did.
I got one more question.
I think you know more than a lot of my closest friends.
I know, we're like best friends now.
There it is. Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
I mean, John knows me pretty well, John Icari. He's going to listen to this and go, "I didn't know that."
He's like, "Damn it, Joe. You getting in with everybody." I'm going to text you first thing in the morning, like, "Hey, buddy, have a good day." He's like, "Damn it, man."
Sending him selfies and stuff.
But last question. I ask everybody this. As a man, as an owner, whatever it is, what is your relentless pursuit?
Relentless pursuit. Right now,
Yeah.
I just want to be the best bodybuilder I can be, and I want to be the best husband I can be.
Damn right. Well, that's perfect.
Are you competing soon?
I am actually going to do
Nice.
a Masters Nationals in July of next year.
Hell yeah.
So I'm actually starting Monday for that preparation. I'll have a little 19-week off season, and then I'll do a 19-week prep leading up to that.
Dude, we need to have a key lime pie before Monday.
And my wife and I had to have a very heart-to-heart conversation about that. She wasn't necessarily in favor of that because it does have a tendency to affect the family. You have to kind of, bodybuilding is kind of selfish in a way because you're focusing so much on yourself, and I agree with that. And you have to get the blessing from your family to do something like that. It's important to me to want to do it, but I have to actually get permission to do that because I feel if my time's going to be taken away from my family at all, I need their blessing.
And rightfully so, because that's your priority.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Your family is the most important thing you have.
Yeah.
So, and as a man, that's what you got to take care of. But I think, you've learned a lot. And I think going into that, you have a lot more awareness from your whole journey to be able to be more attentive towards your family, as opposed to some people probably just like really go too far with it. Right. And so, it can screw you up. So
that's right.
Well, dude, I mean, we're excited as hell to see your journey just grow and grow and grow. I mean, I'm stoked for there to be 27 Gold's Gyms in Tennessee. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm excited to see you get up on stage, man. I think you're going to crush it. It's been really cool hearing your journey, your perspective, just all the ups and downs and just the whole path. And I appreciate you, and I'm honored to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Yes, sir. And we'll have to do it again. Looking forward to it.
All right.
See you guys next time.
All right, take care.
And that's a banger.